Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Lisa's Love and Light. How are you guys doing today? I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for being here with me today, this Wednesday afternoon. And I hope you guys are doing well. I hope these messages are resonating with you and helping you on this journey called healing. Um, Before I get into the topic of discussion today, few things I want to go over. Remember, guys, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a social worker or a counselor. I'm just someone who's going through a lot of grief and pain. And I had to find some creative ways besides therapy to heal these things. And what I do is share with you guys how I got through all of this pain and how I overcame the grief. You never get over the grief of the losses, but you can get through it. And so I share those things. And perhaps any of you who are going through that and it resonates with you, take what resonates with you and perhaps apply it within your own situation. And hopefully it can help you. So, with that being said, please keep your comments respectful and respect one another here because we all are here to uplift and we all have a story to tell. So, with that being said, guys, I want to talk about something else here today. Healing, I talk a lot about grief, etc. But prayer, those of you who are prayer warriors and you trust God. And what I'm picking up is that, some people, I'm just using this as an example. Um, Someone who's prayed a lot to God, asking God to help, really putting prayers out there and saying, Heavenly Father God, I need your help with this particular situation. I need this to manifest in my life so that A, B, C, and D and E can happen. And they've been praying for a long time, diligently praying within heartfelt prayers to God, asking Him to help them with something. Now, finally, God helps that person with something that they've been asking. And when that situation, God put that blessing in their life, it could be in a form of a situation, it could be in a form of a person. So, as a metaphor, let's use this as an example. Let's say it's a person. And let's say God put that person there to help them with a specific problem or circumstance that they have, knowing that this person can help them so that they can rise above that situation, resolve it, and be able to be blessed, right? And what if that person who was praying to God looked at that blessing that God sent their way and say, what's this? What is this? I didn't ask for this. Simply because that person doesn't look the way that they think it look, or that circumstance didn't come in a way that they thought it should. So what I'm saying is that we can miss our blessings and throw them away because we don't recognize that God is sending it our way after praying so diligently for it. And I'm talking about this because there's someone who I know who have done this. God sent a blessing their way after they prayed and prayed day and night and day for months for this. And then when that blessing came, um, God blessed them with this. What's this? This is not what I asked for. It doesn't even look, not only did they utter those words, but they tore the blessing apart with their words. Like, I didn't ask for it. What is this? Just because something doesn't look the way you think it should look, it doesn't come in a shape form that you think it should, doesn't mean it's not a blessing from God. Because people, remember, God doesn't see things the way man sees it. Because people look at the outer appearance and they don't see the heart, but God sees the heart. Remember the story of David before he became king. Nobody would have ever thought that he would have been king. He was the youngest son, I think out of seven. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But I know he was the youngest, and the job he had at the time, a shepherd boy, the lowliest job of that time that they lived in. And his older brothers just looked at him like he was nothing. They just, oh, please, he's nobody. And when it came to Goliath, and Goliath was terrorizing the Israelites forever, you know. And then when David said he was going to go out there and, deal with Goliath, they laughed, they joked. But sometimes, guys, God would send a blessing that may not make sense to the naked eye, but people can miss their blessing by just, overlooking it. So David went, and you guys know the story, slayed Goliath, and eventually he became king. But if people looked at him and looked at his life and where he was going, and they would have looked at everything, they would have just seen, man, this guy is not going to be nothing. He's a nobody. Or this woman over here, she's nobody. She's nothing. Please. They will overlook it. But God sees the heart. And another thing about God, people, is that he will take the broken, the forgotten individuals, the broken down, the abused one, the one who's the black sheep. And he will take that person and he will let them be torn apart so that they can build themselves back up, because he sees the heart, where other folks in general is looking at the outer appearance, but God sees the heart of that individual. So sometimes people can miss their blessings by judging the way it came into their life. God knows what he's doing because he sees things different than man does. So the moral of the story is that this person that I'm referring to, of course, I don't give names and specifics, lost her blessing because she looked at the outer appearance of the blessing that God sent her way. And because she ridiculed it, this ain't what I want kind of attitude, and just ridicule, I can't say the word, ridicule, and just tore it apart until God removed the blessing. And then after that blessing was removed, hey, wait a minute. Oh, that really was the blessing? Really? But now it's too late because it's been removed from her life. Or, let's say his life, it's too late. So I'm saying all of this to say that sometimes God will answer your prayer. And sometimes it may be, unexpected when he answers that prayer. And you can miss your blessing because it didn't come in a shape or form that you're looking for. You're looking for this the way it should look in the outer appearance, but God is looking at the heart. And he choose, what God knows best is what I'm going to say about this. So, people, if you're praying for something, make sure you're not ridiculing that blessing when it comes to your doorstep or whatever shape or form that God sends it your way. Because God knows best. I just needed to say that before we got into this topic of discussion today, because I was having a conversation with someone about that and how people miss opportunities and blessings because they want, or somebody has an opportunity to sign a contract for, to do something, a project of some sort. But because that company is not a well-known what they want it to be, they can say no to a blessing that God put there in their life. So just be careful, guys. So with that being said, let's get into this topic of discussion, which is heal and take action. I talk a lot about healing. I talk a lot about grief, pain, setting boundaries. But today we're going to talk about not just healing, but taking action. As you heal, never depend on others for your happiness. You can provide your own happiness. You know, sometimes when you get on this journey to heal, you end up losing people sometimes, not all the time, but people who you grew up with, people who you were close, maybe even some family members, because they don't understand your time out to heal your mental and physical health. And sometimes that's painful. That creates even more pain, guys. And then you got to go back and heal like a double healing. But in any event, never depend upon anybody else for your happiness, no matter who they might be. Always provide your own happiness. When you heal, you open up your mindset. You change your mindset to a different perspective. I know I did. You know, I was looking at doom and gloom, depression, grief, all of these different things, right? But as I went into prayer and God raised me up and took me, you know, and helped me, I started to see things from a different perspective, a different mindset. And you know, like if you're going through a lot of trials and tribulations, it's easy to want to throw in a towel and say, you know, the hell with this and blah, blah, this and that, because I'm just tired. But, you know, when you start to ask God for help and you go into prayer and you start to look at things from a different mindset, then that's where the healing can begin. You know, you're starting to heal because then you can find creative ways to get through things. And I'm talking from experience. I'm not just reading a script or any of that. I'm